Hello, I want to welcome you back to the podcast, How to Play the Game of College, Season 3. The theme, as y'all know, is keeping it real about college. And y'all, when I say I'm so glad this guy's booked and busy, y'all. It took me months to get him on, but we're so glad to have him on. What's going on, Dr. Whitaker? How you doing today, man?
Good brother, all is well. I should be asking you that. What's the next stop? How can we
Yes.
get a part of the tour? I don't know who's more popular, you or the Chris Brown meet and greet right now, Dr.
Man, we try
Boyd.
to make it to Chris Brown level. And y'all, I wore this blazer. Y'all hadn't saw a blazer none this season, but this guy was like, he gonna have a blazer on. And guess what? He came in a polo. So we didn't
That's right.
we didn't text before, but I'm representing for
46
you.
long, by the way. I like that blazer, Dr.
Oh,
Boyd. 46
appreciate you,
long.
brother. I got you. I got you. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started with the podcast. Dr. Whitaker, tell us a little bit about yourself and your current role.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All jokes aside, first and foremost, thank you, Dr. Boyd, for having me on. Myself included, along with many others, have been able to enjoy watching and observing your
Thank
journey
you, man.
as you've really taken things to the next level of exposing and impacting young people on understanding how to play the game of college.
Man, appreciate that.
So just kudos to you on this platform, man, and the things you're doing.
Hmm.
I'm excited to take a snippet of time today just really to support this movement, share whatever I can from my personal experience with this audience here. Just to give you a tad bit of background context on
Yeah.
myself, as you mentioned, Jeremy Whitaker. I'm a proud native of, indeed, Memphis, Tennessee. Did my high school here, was raised in this community of Memphis, a proud representative of it. Following high school, like many that are learning to play the game of college, it might not be locally. I did, leave this area of Memphis. I
Yeah.
was a college student athlete. My journey is a
Mhm.
tad bit different, and we'll talk a tad bit more about that as we move through the day, I know. Uh,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
for me, not only leaving the city of Memphis as a student athlete, attaining higher education as far as undergrad, graduate work, eventually doctoral, for me, what truly, truly hits home is my commitment to return back to the community that contributed so much to my life.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the higher education leadership space. It's one particular area. People often ask me, what's my occupation? I would tell them it is simply to be a impact agent of change.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Um,
Yes. Yeah.
and very fortunate to do that in a multitude of ways here currently. One is that head of higher education executive, which we'll
Mm-hmm.
talk about that today.
Yeah.
The other one is really looking at being an advocate for those vulnerable populations,
Yeah.
and such
Yeah.
as those with disabilities. We look at the area of mental health,
Mm-hmm.
things of that
Mm-hmm.
nature, and having some pretty pivotal organizational impact in this area with the Assess Build Connect Foundation, known as ABCs of Life.
Yeah.
We provide that wraparound support through training, eliminating transportation barriers,
Mm-hmm.
working with
Mm-hmm.
those vulnerable disability populations to help them get job ready and placed in jobs in partnership with various government agencies. So really that
Yeah.
wraparound agent of impact is what I would kind of qualify as the occupation, but particularly for higher education leadership. Dude, I tell you, when I looked up and realized I was in college leadership,
Man.
not by design, not because
Yeah.
it was a major academic that someone told me about, but
Right.
literally it was a calling, man. The
Mm-hmm.
intersection between my passion and my professional skill set.
Man.
And in that intersection, Dr. B, is what we call purpose.
Yeah. So true. So
And
true.
so often you'll see, my tagline, or, for me, is Dr. J Purpose Pays.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
simply because I do believe, and I share all the time with those I encounter,
Yeah.
once you're able to identify what you know is truly your purpose, a new chapter of life truly
Man.
unfolds. You
Man.
can see
So true.
brighter. And I think that's evident in what you're doing now with how to play
Man.
the game of college, good brother.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Now, you did not call out your high school. You're from Memphis. You got to say your high school, man.
Of course, man. So look, I gotta represent that all day, man, and my neighborhood, because those both you gotta say
Yeah.
Memphis,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So a proud graduate of Christian Brothers High School, proud resident of the White Haven community. I always
Man.
gotta put on for the Haven because you gotta
Yeah.
respect. So respect the Haven by all means.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Let's continue on the theme of purpose, man. I'm so glad you said that. When we talk to a lot of young folks, they're trying to figure out life, right? So even trying to get to college, it's a lot, right? And so you're telling them
Absolutely.
to pick a major or something you want to do for the rest of your life. What advice would you give to a student who said, I'm hearing the word purpose. I hear Dr. Whitaker talking about it, Dr. Boyd. How do I find out what my purpose is? Can you give advice to that person?
Man, it's a phenomenal question.
Yeah.
And absolutely. And what I'll do is actually kind of put it in some context of even what I see day to day in my current role in higher
Yeah.
education.
Okay.
Uh, but overall, I would share with any young person who is on that exploration of purpose the importance of being willing to have courageous conversations,
Mm-hmm.
being willing to be comfortable with being uncomfortable,
So true. Yeah.
and using the resources you have to truly get answers to those questions.
Right.
We're in a day now where everything is at literally at at your fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, what I would encourage any young person, anyone who was not even just a young person, but anyone who's on that journey to purpose,
Right.
is to think about those things that you truly have a love for doing.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel like it's a taxing. It's
Right.
something
Right.
that is a drain to you, but something that you truly get a fulfillment out of doing.
So true.
From there, go into research mode and identify what are ways that you can actually maximize impact in those areas.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, who are some individuals that are already doing these things that you're
Yeah.
interested
Yeah.
in? And
Right.
that's when you take the next step of having those courageous conversations, of being willing to reach out to the Dr. Boyds, to
Mm-hmm.
myself, to those others who may be a particular role model in your respective area,
Right.
being willing to ask them, hey, this is who I am, having a
Mm-hmm.
good pitch,
Mm-hmm.
right? You talk about that, having a good elevator pitch. I know you really hone in on that when you do trainings,
Right.
and being able to let that person know who you are, but why you're interested in talking to them. And I think the biggest piece of that, talking about being courageous,
Mm-hmm.
is not being afraid of hearing the word no.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Yeah.
going to reach out
Yeah.
to some people. You're going to email some people. You're going to
So
DM
true.
some people. And
Yeah.
guess what? They may not respond.
Right.
Create their list of 10 or 15. You might
Mm-hmm.
get one or two to respond. And so you
Mm-hmm.
have to be fearless in regards to not being afraid to hear the word no.
So
Now, if you're
true.
like me, hey, I grew up in a household where no was something I heard.
Right.
And depending on what I was asking, there was some choice words before the word
Right.
will. Okay. So
Same here.
that's okay.
Yeah.
But that would be the advice. Be courageous, be curious, and more important, to be intentional about seeking that on early. Early exposure is key.
Man, man.
And people like yourself are always impressed. We get these emails from young people who are just interested in what we do and how they can learn about it.
Right, right. Man, you said so much in that last statement. And I love how I'm looking at behind your back, man. Faith over fear, right, man?
Every day,
The
man.
theme of life, right? It should be,
Absolutely.
definitely should be. So as we talk about mentorship, right, in the book, I talk about the importance of mentorship in my life, right, and how it has helped me to navigate the college scene, right, but more importantly, just day-to-day life, right? What advice again would you give? We talked about purpose, we talking about, having a courageous conversations, not being afraid to hear no. But how would a young person go about getting a mentor, a Dr. Whitaker in their life?
Gotcha. I mean, I will share with you that I think it's about being strategic and intentional about who you want to mentor you and
Okay,
what you expect from that relationship.
got you.
I'll give you an example. Currently right now in the higher education space, I'm honored I serve as the Associate Dean for Student Success and Inclusion here at the Laurinburg College of Nursing
Yeah,
in the University of Memphis. Nationally ranked nursing college. We have programs ranging from your undergraduate getting your BSN all the way up to getting your PhD in nursing if that's what you aspire to do.
right.
I'm very fortunate to have a great team that I work with. We provide oversight for the whole enrollment cycle for students, from enrollment or recruitment to completing and then going on and being placed in your field. And
Right.
of course, as you know, nursing is so in demand right now.
Mm-hmm.
We can't have enough graduates coming out every semester.
Right.
But one thing that I would say, beyond the impact of graduation rates, employment placement rates, all that's great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the thing I'm most proud of during my tenure within, being in this college,
Yeah.
has been the impact of being a mentor. And it's a mentor to students, a mentor to those teammates I work with to help them grow and develop.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll share with you what I share with them. Anybody who I decide to mentor, or even my mentors, who I'm the mentee to,
Okay.
it's a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to be intentional about what you desire from any relationship,
Mm-hmm.
what you can contribute to any relationship, and also what are your challenges in that relationship. You have to have some
Okay.
self-awareness.
Right.
Any
Right.
young person, I would say to them, particularly as you come to learn to play the game of college,
Mm-hmm.
do your
Mm-hmm.
research on that individual. What
Yeah.
about the individual that really aspires you or really has engaged you?
Mm-hmm.
And when you meet with them, when you get that time, be clear with them about what impressed you,
Right.
What about them that you would love to be able to hone in on your own skills and enhance? But also be willing to ask them what are their challenges as well. Because I tell people all the time, you don't lose when you learn.
That's
Allow
true.
those people's lessons to be something that you can take on the front end without maybe having to bump your head as well.
Man, so true. And I like how you said with, any mentor-mentee relationship, it takes both, right? And so,
Absolutely.
as you know, we have some of the same mentors, and I pick up the phone at least once a quarter, say, hey, let's go grab lunch, make sure I'm
Right.
sending a text message, and I'm coming from the mentee standpoint, right? And so it's important when you build these relationships that you really pour into them. It's like any other relationship, right? You
Absolutely.
have to really put the work
Absolutely.
behind it. So I'm glad that you kind of pointed that out. Another big question, again, Dr. Whitaker, I'm asking you questions that I get as I travel around the country, man. And I love for students and parents to really hear from the experts like yourself, right? Coming into college, we talked about purpose, passion, relationships, mentorship, major, right? I know you're in one of the College of Nursing.
Right.
I know a lot of folks come in and they select, right,
Right.
nursing. But I think sometimes the average, it may be still the same. A lot of students change their major at least twice while they're in college or even more, right?
Mhm.
What advice would you give to someone who's maybe come in unknown or they start off in one major and they say, hey, it's not for me. I don't know what to do. What advice would you give in someone who's seeking or trying to find a certain major?
Great question. And I'll share this with you. You hit on it a few moments ago. You
Okay.
talked about mentor and mentee relationships.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think it's something that we know, and you're really
Right.
good at this. And I think it's a trait that these young people need to know about. Your follow-up game got to be on point, good brother. You talk about keeping it real. I'm happy to
Mm-hmm.
be on season 3
Yeah,
about
yeah.
keeping it real because that's what we're
Yes.
going to do. Your follow-up game has to be A1, period. That's
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a mentor-mentee relationship, but also when it comes to playing the game of college, when it comes to
Man.
looking at what particular major you may want to go into.
Okay.
Now, doing this 16 years in college leadership, one thing I can share with any student or prospective student out there is your major does not dictate your trajectory, your ability to do something.
Man.
We got people we work with, and you can look at now what's going on with college presidencies,
Yeah. Yeah.
leadership as a whole. Don't feel that pressure to be boxed in to say,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
this is the sentence for the rest of my life because I got a degree in finance.
Right, right. Yeah.
It's what skills
Man.
do you pick up along that journey once you select
Mm.
that major
So
that's going to
true.
be important. Communication, organization, time management,
Yeah.
follow-up, execution, collaboration. What are those skills that are critical to be successful in any field?
Right, right.
That's vital. But when you look at an academic major,
Mm-hmm.
you really want to take out the time to think about what particular outcomes you want from that. And that's why it
Right.
goes back to looking at what career field you might want to do. What's your
Yeah.
ideal occupation? And the earlier you can identify what those options may be, I think you'll be much more susceptible to identify what academic track you need to take to be successful.
So
For
true.
example, I will share with anyone a 4 year traditional college setting is not for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
reason why we have technical and trade schools. And in fact,
Right.
it's a reason why there's a lot of funding on there now because we need it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, you think about HVAC, you think about things such as you and myself, we go to the barbershop, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
think about
Mm-hmm.
all these key areas that I think as an individual, it's important that you discover what
Right.
you love.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can do that earlier on, when it comes to having those conversations, maybe with someone who owns that barbershop or
Right.
who's coming to fix the air conditioner at your parents' house,
Mm-hmm.
about their track and what they did, you can be exposed to those things. If it's college and it's an academic major,
Right.
go to Discover Your Major Day. Talk to people in the UC or the student centers that are
Mm-hmm.
in those
Mm-hmm.
majors and the upperclassmen about what they're doing.
Right.
When
Yeah.
selecting an institution, ask about what internship partnerships they have that are connected to that sector that you're interested in.
So true.
Now, particularly for nursing, because I know we're there and we got to talk about it. And I
Yeah.
wish I could tell you the amount of students that we have that come into our institution
Yeah.
are saying, I want to become a nurse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they realize, what does it take to get into nursing school? Well, I have these prerequisite courses I got to take, which are science heavy, right? Your anatomy and
Mm-hmm.
physiology, your
Right.
microbiology, your chemistries, these
Mm-hmm.
various prerequisites that you must take.
Right.
A lot of times along that journey, students are given that reality check. Well, maybe I don't want to do nursing, but I do want to be in the healthcare field.
Okay.
What are
Okay.
those other options available that
Right.
are important? But I think that the biggest piece there is to early exposure, ask
Mm-hmm.
questions, Take a tour. These things are
Yeah,
available.
yeah.
Use those campus resources to really find out that that's what you want to do early on before you look up and you've made that financial investment. Because we know financial aid has its limitations of how
So
many times
true.
the course will be
Yeah,
paid for and those things. So you just want to be mindful of that so you don't find yourself already deep into a major where you've
yeah,
invested
yeah.
financially and now you're
Right.
having to recalibrate on how you can actually provide for that next step you want to take.
Right. So true, man. You're saying so many great things here. And like I said, really going back to your purpose, right? So if you center everything around that, like something that, hey, this is what I love doing. Let me kind of see what fits in that particular lane. I think that will help you to really select that major. And like you said, hey, if I get into something, I don't like it, it's okay to change it.
Right.
I think sometimes
Absolutely.
we tell students like you said, you locked in this box and you have to stay with this thing and you're really not liking it, but you're doing it sometimes because of parents or sometimes I just think I should do this particular thing. But hey, ask questions, seek resources, mentorship. All those things are very, very important. Dr.
Absolutely.
Whitaker, okay, let's talk about you, right? And
Okay.
so looking back in your career, man, or just like your college journey, man, you have what, 3, 4 degrees, man. You're doing leadership and all these great things that you're doing. Is there one thing that you could think back on and like, man, this was a pitfall for me, right? It really could have took me out of here, right? But I was able to overcome that particular thing and get to this place where I am now. I think it's important for students to hear,
Absolutely.
some of
And
those
that's
stories sometimes. Yes.
absolutely. And it aligns with keeping it real because
Yeah, yeah,
oftentimes our students, they see the outcome, but they don't understand what it takes to get
man.
to the outcome.
So
And
true.
I'm very proud to be a part of network of good brothers like yourselves, where we
Yeah,
have been intentional about making sure that the students that we encounter understand that this still is not a finished product, but where
right.
you see it at, it's come a long way, and we want
Mm-hmm.
you where
Mm-hmm.
exactly where they are.
Right.
And so for me, I can share several challenges along my collegiate journey, and I necessarily won't call them all pitfalls.
Yeah, yeah.
I actually think, in fact, one in particular I shared wasn't a pitfall, it was actually a catapult, and I'll talk more about that. But
Okay.
particularly for me, there's two in mind that I will share with you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
The first one I would share, definitely don't consider it a pitfall, but more of a catapult, was becoming a parent while in college.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
talk about keeping it real. We need to talk
yeah,
about it because guess what? You have some students that this will happen to, uh,
yeah.
or some who are in college and they can relate.
So
And
true.
so for me, that changed my trajectory and my perspective on what college truly meant.
Okay.
Becoming a parent, I actually became a parent in my freshman year of college, man.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
And so for me,
yeah,
as you can imagine, college students, they become parents all the time.
yeah, yeah.
And oftentimes that could actually be something that would delay progression as
Mm-hmm.
far as a college degree. In fact, for many, it can stop it altogether.
Man, so true. Yes.
So I'm very proud to say that I was fortunate and blessed to have a network and a real village of
Mm-hmm.
support system
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that supported me while I was actually pursuing my college degree, while playing ball. I had
Right.
that village. And that village, I mean, it's so many people to name that we will be here all day, me naming people who
Mm-hmm.
played a
Mm-hmm.
role in ensuring that I had the support, I had the flexibility, but also I had the space to still be intentional and be a great father in my daughter's life at that
Man.
particular time.
Oh boy. Yeah.
And I just want to keep it real because there's some people out there who need to hear that
Man.
life will life and things will happen. But by all means, do not ever, and you hear me say this again towards the end, don't put a period where God is just simply placing a comma.
Man.
And that
So
means you
true.
just need to stop, recalibrate, pause, get yourself together, adapt to what life now has dealt, and then
Mm-hmm.
move forward
Mm-hmm.
and excel. So that is definitely one thing as far as keeping it real about college that I
Yeah.
want to share with those that it might inspire.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah. For
often hear
sure.
people, the fear is
Yes.
put into them. You're going to go to college, you're going to have fun, you better be careful, don't come back here pregnant. And it's like,
Right.
that doesn't have to be a end of your destiny sentence.
Right.
You can do this.
That's
And
true. Yeah.
just to kind of conclude that real moment, I'm proud to tell you that my daughter now is in her sophomore year of
Yeah.
college
Yeah.
herself, majoring in cybersecurity, doing some awesome things, and I'm very proud of her. So it can be done.
Man.
And so I just want to share that is one. And then the other one is I would say being a student athlete,
Okay.
managing time and everything that will come at you fast from making the right decisions, having yourself around the right people,
Yeah.
and understanding that you could be at the wrong place with the wrong group of people. And because you may have not been doing it doesn't mean that due to affiliation.
Man. So
Um,
true. Yes.
so you have to be very mindful of
Yeah.
those intentional about being around. And I
Right.
was very fortunate to have a great group of friends and teammates and colleagues through my college experience that have really shaped lifelong relationships.
Man, you dropped some major gems. And again, thank you for being so transparent. That was the purpose. I was thinking about this season. I'm like, I don't want to just do another one or two like fluff seasons, right? I want some really real conversations. And so I was super intentional about who I brought on this particular season because I really want the conversation to get real. And I really thank you for sharing those two stories. And your daughter is Middle Tennessee State still?
Of course, you're alum. You know
Yeah.
what I got my Blue Raider dad coming,
Okay, good.
absolutely proud Blue
Like that's what I
Raider.
thought. Yeah, man,
Yes,
that's
proud
great.
of her. Very, very proud of that young lady.
Man. Hats off to you, brother. And let me ask you, I guess, what about parents, right? Since we're talking about your daughter, right? A lot of times we get the question from parents to say, hey, my kid is going off. I want to be engaged, but I don't know how to be engaged or support my student while they're in college. A lot of times they feel like they have to really cut off. What advice or what are you currently doing, right, while your daughter's at MTSU to really support her during this journey?
Great. So, essentially, being in higher education leadership, you just asked me a loaded question,
All
right?
right.
Because all parents out there can relate
Yeah.
that we can say it 1,000 times, but it takes oftentimes another voice, another form
Hmm.
of delivery for
Yeah.
students and our children to have that aha moment.
So true.
And so I'm very fortunate to have a network and relationships, even with her institution and leadership there, some great student leaders there that
Hmm.
helped her transition be one that was a one of ease and one that she really felt a sense of belonging at MTSU.
Okay.
So shout out to that network there. In fact, I think you might be connected with one that's been on your show before, Makai Mosby, the
Yeah.
president. And I remember when she first decided to go there, reaching out to him and just
Yeah.
to the blessing he's been in helping her make that transition. But I will say this as far as parents, you have to understand and you have to believe and entrust that what you put in prior to them going to college,
Right.
those daily deposits will have a return on investment.
Hmm.
And that's easier said than done. But the advice I will give is understanding that if you try to do too much, a couple of things can happen that will be definitely not beneficial or progressive. And what I
Mm.
mean by that is, one, if you try to do too much when it comes to helicoptering, which is what we call
Yeah.
higher ed helicopter parents,
Right.
helicoptering their social experience, because social integration is very important for them to be
Hmm.
able to talk to individuals from diverse backgrounds, communicate, understand the importance of being diverse and inclusive and multicultural approach to things of that nature. You want to make sure they get that experience and that you don't helicopter over it or hover over it, because if so,
Hmm.
you stunt their growth.
So true.
Uh,
Yeah.
Secondly, outside of stunting their growth in that regard, they then will retract from you. And now you're not getting that open individual
Hmm.
that you really
Hmm.
want, because you
Yeah.
want to know what they're thinking,
So
what they're
true.
feeling, how you can support it, particularly considering, Dr. Boyd, the increased levels of mental and behavior health challenges
Hmm.
amongst our student populations,
Yeah.
young people altogether. The suicide ideation and attempts that I see, I can tell you, especially in
Yeah.
nursing,
Yeah.
because of the high stakes and high pressure of performance.
Hmm.
So for parents, understand that importance of balance,
Man.
encouraging, but willing to listen,
So true. So true.
supportive, but also being real about not expecting perfection, but
Right.
progression.
Hmm.
I think there's a difference there. And then finally, understanding for some parents, those who may have not attained higher education themselves.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Dr. Boyd, I've often seen that with parents that if it's foreign to them,
Hmm.
maybe and that's okay, because guess what? That student and that child of theirs now is taking it to the next level for that next generation, which is what it's
Right.
about.
So true.
Uh,
So true.
but
Yes.
don't be insecure or feel insecure in regards to what you don't know, because this offers an opportunity for you to have a shared learning experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
He or she might can't bring home that syllabus in chemistry or personal finance, and you understand exactly what's going on.
Hmm.
But there are resources and tools out there. And just like your kid is reading how to play the game of college, as a
Yeah.
parent, you need to have that copy for yourself reading
Right.
as well.
So
So that
true.
way you can understand those details,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
tidbits of nuggets that Dr. Boyd has in there about
Hmm.
communication, those departments on campus that will work with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But be mindful of those regulatory laws as well, like FERPA.
Yeah.
I often
Yeah.
will have a parent call me up and say, hey, I want to talk to you about my daughter. She got a letter saying that she's no longer in nursing school because she's
Oh
failed all these
yeah.
classes. And the first thing I have to share with them is, look,
I can't.
pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for reaching out. But unfortunately, I cannot discuss
Right.
his or her academic status with you
Mm-hmm,
based
mm-hmm.
upon these regulations.
So
And
true.
so be knowledgeable so that way that young person or your loved one can actually, if they want you integrated into their experience, can do what it takes to make sure you can be at the table.
So true, man. And you, again, I always tell parents you can be involved, but there's just a different way of being involved. But definitely don't cut off the relationship, right? Find a Dr.
Right.
Whitaker on the campus of U of M. You know, if you're going to UT Martin, finding a Cameron Eccles, right? Someone who can really help support and advocate more for your student. And so, man, again, thank you for sharing that great information. Dr. Whitaker, guess what?
What's
We are
up?
at the end, man. I feel, with us too, man, we could do part 2, part 3, and 4,
You know
right?
it. You know it.
So
Absolutely.
in closing, man, you've been sharing again some great just gems along the way. But if you had one piece of advice, right? If you were telling someone, if you were adding a chapter in how to play the game of college, right, for a student, what would that chapter be and why?
Man, you know how to end this thing with the right question. The right question. Absolutely. So I'll tell you how I would conclude it since we're in line with
Yes.
keeping it real and purpose.
Yeah.
Uh, Purpose pays. And I mean it wholeheartedly. And I'll share with you what I mean exactly by that. Your journey is your journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have a unique destiny, you have a unique calling for you. And so the biggest thing I can share with anyone that's watching this, particularly those young people, is emphasizing mastering perseverance,
Mm-hmm.
understanding that your past will not dictate your future.
Yeah.
Life will happen. And the true test of character is how you adapt to what happens in life. And then you begin to dictate what you want to happen in your life,
Man, so
and being
true.
intentional about those things. And it goes back to what I said earlier about understanding the difference between the simplest punctuation you learn in grade school,
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
period and a comma.
Right, right.
Sometimes in life, it would appear that things are at a halt. They have completely altered what you're doing and
Mm-hmm.
what you
Mm-hmm.
desire to do. Don't stop.
Man, yeah.
Have a village, have peoples, and sometimes you have to understand who those right people are. And I do something I talk about knowing who your haters are and who your fans
Yeah.
are.
So
Knowing who
true.
your haters are, keeping it real, knowing who
Mm-hmm.
your fans are. And
Right.
understand this premise that sometimes some of your biggest fans are those people that you don't even have day-to-day conversations with. You don't
Man.
know that they're watching you, they're rooting
Yeah.
for you, they want to
Yeah.
see you win.
Man.
Sometimes your biggest haters are those you're around day in and day out
Man.
because they're not courageous enough to tell you when you're doing
Mm-hmm.
something that doesn't align with their purpose. It doesn't
So
align
true.
with the destiny that you have described that you want. And ultimately, sometimes your number one hater can be the person you see in the mirror every day
Man, man.
because you're not remaining disciplined. You're
Yeah,
not standing 10 toes in regards to what you said you want out of this life.
man.
Identify your purpose, assess everything it takes to accomplish it,
Mm-hmm.
build those relationships that are very, very important, and those resources, connect with them. And by all means, believe in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
With that period where that comma should go. Be
Man.
resilient.
Man. I could just drop the mic right there, Dr.
Don't
Winston.
drop the mic, man. Don't drop the mic. And you know, one
Actually,
thing
I'm
I
gonna
tell
send
you
you
all the
this book,
time,
man. We're gonna do a second edition. Seriously. We're
of
gonna add
course,
that chapter, man.
I'm
Seriously.
I'm eligible for 4 words if you need me to do it. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. But no, seriously, as we wrap up, I just want to share that, man,
Yeah.
because I tell people
Yeah, so
purpose
true.
pays. When I say it pays, I'm not just talking about financially or direct
Yeah,
deposit.
yeah.
It pays in your ability to impact others to maximize their greatness, to maximize their
Man.
ability. And Dr. Boyd, I can't say enough about what you're doing with how to play the game of college because you are truly walking in purpose. And we can
Mm,
already begin to see the dividends it's paying in the lives that you've been able to encounter in these multiple institutions and organizations. But me getting to know you,
mm,
how much it's paying dividends in your life because
man.
this is your gifting and what you're doing, man. So once again, salute to you.
Man,
Kudos,
appreciate
man, and thank you
yes.
for just sharing this time with me.
Yes, yes, yes. And a part of this season, Jeremy, as I mentioned earlier, I want to be super intentional about the guest. And so everyone who's on here this season, I have a personal relationship with. And so, man, again, giving you your flowers as well, man.
Thank you,
We've
brother.
been knowing each other for a long time, man,
Yeah,
and super
absolutely.
blessed to have you in my life, man, and you one who inspired me. We talk about the importance of having a great circle around you. Man, you that guy for me, man. So again, I tell
Thank you,
you,
brother.
all the time, but man, definitely on this podcast, brother. Super blessed to have you in my life. My life is better, man, because you're in it. So, man, keep doing what you're doing, brother. Yes,
Thank you.
sir. Thank you so much. And
Likewise.
y'all, we gonna stop because we'll be here all day. But yes, make sure, Jeremy, we'll put your information, your email, your LinkedIn. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like, comment. Dr. Whitaker is gonna give you feedback under those comments. I already know. And so again, thank you all for joining the podcast. I will see you at the same time next week. Thank you.